as a coach, there were a lot of frustrating days and some frustrating nights. The robots misbehave, especially in tournaments. They get the nerves just like the young men and young ladies do. But my team and what they're doing now is just wonderful. So bask in that glory as a coach. And so those are kind of the introduction remarks. The rest of the presentation here is going to be kind of on some of the big broad aspects of the game. And then I'll concentrate on some of the game elements as well. But I want to get kind of big picture stuff out of the way first. If you listen to Mark Pond and what he had to say, what was one of his big points? What was that? Read the rule book. You're going to hear that time and time again. And probably one of the biggest things that I see as head referee, even at state, a lot of times the qualifiers, but at state, teams are not familiar with the rules. And they'll do something, and it's like, did you read the rule book? Oh, what's the rule book? Okay. I'm finding it's happening less often, but it still happens. So read that rule book. The other thing that I really like to put out is ask questions. Okay. For you as coaches, ask your team questions. I think Mark mentioned about don't do the work for the team. Don't provide the team the answer to, well, you've got this mission model. This is how you activate it. Ask the team, how does that mission model work? You're interested in doing this mission. Running up the lever to the various colors. What does that mean? How are you going to accomplish it? So get in the mindset as a coach of asking your team how they're going to do it and what they're going to do and how it's scored. How many points do you get if the white pointer is in the blue? How many points do you get if you move it to the green? Okay. So ask the question, have the team ask you questions. And also, I encourage teams, especially rookies, find a veteran team, maybe in your area. Today is a great networking opportunity to talk amongst coaches. And if you're a rookie, raise your hand again if you're a rookie. Okay. So veterans, look around. Rookies, put your hands in. Veterans, if you're a veteran coach. Okay. Rookie coaches, look around and this afternoon, engage with these folks. Exchange numbers and all that kind of stuff. And feel free to ask them questions. The other thing up on, and I apologize, there are some papers that I put on all the tables that have this diagram up there. I don't have on those my information up there. So there's how you can get a hold of me. Give me a call, give me a text, send me an email. I will get back to you just as soon as I can and try and answer your question. Yes.
Is your email right? It looks.
Yes, AZ first.
Yeah, but it doesn't say that.
Dot referee. Oh, you're right. Thank you. Yeah, proofreading, right? Thank you. Okay, so AZ first, not first. AZ first, dot referee at earthlink.net. Thank you for that. Okay, so I love entertaining questions. I enjoy hearing from the coaches. I love hearing from the kids. Okay, so these young men and women that are on the teams out there, if they've got a question, I want to hear from them first. But as a coach, don't be shy. If you need to get a hold of me, please feel free. So that's a big thing. Communication, I can't overstate how important communication amongst the team members is, but also, with, for lack of a better word, called leadership first. With Elaine, myself, Nancy, we're here to support you. So please feel free and communicate. when you start looking at the rule book and you start going through the rules, you start going through the missions, you as coaches should be familiar with all that. The team members need to be familiar with all that. That's probably one of the biggest things is the team communicating amongst themselves. You know, the team members that may have experience teaching the younger team members, that's critical in the first core values and that working together. So, but don't read into the rules too much. Don't read into the missions too much. And what I mean by that is that as an adult, I found myself making assumptions. Anyone else make assumptions on how things should be? And when I was a coach, I actually misdirected a couple of the missions to make them more complicated than they needed to be. You know, and that was a learning point for me. And it came out when one of the kids asked a question, and I'm like, that's a great idea and much easier than what I was thinking. Okay, so exploit the loopholes. If the team members find a way to do a mission and it seems kind of odd as a coach, look through the rules, look through the missions again. And if you can't see something that prohibits that solution, hey, take pride in that. You know, learn from it. You know, that is probably one of the coolest things as a head referee that I see is when a team comes up with some way out of the box thinking to score points and to complete that mission. And that is awesome. So exploit the loopholes is one of my big ones. Let's see, what else? When it comes to tournaments, coaches, remember that the tournament is about your team, your young men and your young women that are up here on the field. The technicians, the team members that are back behind the lines and all that. Coaches, we want you to cheer them on. We want you to encourage them. But what we don't want you to do is hang back here with them and go, do mission 3, do mission 3. You know, or no, don't set it up that way. Remember, we've got to set it up this way. You know, no coaching. You know, in the tournament. The teams need to coach themselves. You know, maybe there's a couple of members of the teams that are co-captains. You know, that's one of the things that I did on my team when I had it was 2 of the more experienced members of the team were the captains, and they were in charge of making sure that things were going right. We also had various roles for some of the different missions, and I think Mark got into that a little bit. But remember, as a coach, if I see that at the tournaments, what I'll often do is I'll go and I'll kind of put myself in between the coach and the team and go, Coach, remember, you're supposed to just be a cheering section. You're not supposed to be telling them what to do. I will try and pleasantly remind you as a coach to cheer them on. All right. So just be forewarned about that. A lot of times there may be a little box that the tournament directors have made for the coaches to be in, or we're asked to coaches stay in the audience, please, and let the teams come up. So get your teams up to the table and then go back into the audience or go into your coach's box. All right. So any questions on kind of that big picture type of stuff? Real quick. Yes, ma'am.
Questions?
Yep. So the question is, what are the various tournaments called? We've got qualifying tournaments. We've also got scrimmages, which are not official. Those are play sessions, if you will. So if there's a scrimmage, I don't know if we've got any scrimmages planned for this year, but some teams may host a scrimmage. But when it comes to the actual event, you've got your qualifiers, so qualifying tournament, and then you've got your state tournament, okay, or your championship tournament. So qualifiers or your championship, and then you've got your world championships, okay. So that's any other questions on big picture type stuff before I get into the mission? All right, so we can probably use the camera up here on the field. So this is where we start getting
Tips today. All right.
okay.
Stop sharing your screen because I can't do the camera
Okay.
unless I stop this.
Yep.
So
we'll
let's see
switch
if
back to
this
in
works.
2 minutes.
So I'm gonna stop the share. Oh, we have someone. Coach Ling is coming in.
All right.
Okay.
So while we're getting set up for that, one of the things you need to do throughout the season is regularly check the challenge updates. Okay, so you've got your rule book, you've got your engineering notebook, you've got all these resources out there on this thing called the World Wide Web. And where do you find that? Okay, where do you find your rule book? Where do you find these challenge updates? The biggest thing that I can tell you is do a search engine and go FLL challenge update. Okay, any search engine, FLL challenge update, and it should pop up as one of the top finds out there. And just click on that. It takes you automatically to firstinspires.org and you're good to go. So the challenge updates come out on a fairly regular basis. FLL doesn't get too many of them, but there are some that pop up from time to time. I'll cover the recent ones here in a little bit. Janine. The field does need to be reset, yes. So we'll get to that in a minute. Thank you. So the big thing with like last year, as opposed to previous years, they split the field into 2 areas. So Wayne, if you can come in and focus in on, we've got I'll call it the right-hand side, which is the blue side here. So you've got your launch area, which is this piece of pie. Okay, that is the launch area. Everything starting the mission, robot-wise, equipment-wise, and anything the robot, any of the mission models that the robot is going to use for that mission need to start completely inside that launch area. The launch area, the outer edge, is where you are focused on being completely in. Okay, and then the black line on the outer edge, the outside of that black line is the extent of that launch area. Okay, so everything has to be completely inside the launch area. And here's where we get into the kind of the wording. You've got in or on, you've got touching, you've got partly in or partly on, you've got completely in, completely on. Very important concepts within the game plan. So your launch area, and then your home area. The home area is the side that's not part of the map, but still part of the field and the launch area. So home is launch area and the side that's not on the map. All right, and you've got the right hand side, you've got the left hand home area and launch area. And then you've got various models that start in home. For this year, there's no designation on which side they have to start on. So when the team comes up to the field and starts setting up, the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to see how much stuff they have with it, how much equipment. So know and understand what equipment is. And the team brings a robot and all the equipment. If it fits within the launch area, one launch area, under 12 inches high, then they get bonus. They get automatically 20 points for that. Okay. If it extends beyond the launch area, then we need to see if it fits within both launch areas. If it fits within both launch areas, you're good to go. If it doesn't fit within both launch areas, whatever doesn't fit needs to go away. Go back to the pit. All right. On the good side, I don't think I've ever seen in the last couple of years a team that hasn't fit it all within the one area. So that's a good thing. All right. Most teams get that bonus points. So again, it's got to be completely in the launch area, right? And that all the mission models aren't included in it. So teams should not bring mission models to the field when they come up to play the field game. They leave those back in the pits. Just bring the robot and any equipment that you have. Equipment is also jigs that are used to start and align for the start of the mission. Right. So again, read the rule book on equipment and all that. All right. So that's kind of the starting field layout. Now, the other thing that we have to do when we talk about the starting of the game, I see some folks here. Do I have some volunteers out there that may be of age? So do I have a couple? Yes, come on. This is where we get interactive. Who else wants to come up? I need one more volunteer. Come on up. Okay, this is representing. Are you two on the same team? Which team? The who? Rising Eagle. All right, Rising Eagle. Awesome. Thank you for volunteering. So we've got a two-person team here. Okay, when it comes time for the tournament, you've got your robot. Simulating having a robot. You're bringing it up. You're getting it inspected. We're good to go there. Now we're inspected. It all fits in with the launch area. You get that bonus point, and now it's time to get ready to start the gameplay. Same thing is happening on the other field. All right. Now we've got two folks. They need to be one in one home area, one in the other home area. So how do you guys want to man the field? One in one home area, one in the other. Go ahead and position yourselves for the start of the game. Okay. So now we've got both sides in. Okay. This is wonderful. We've got the robot ready to go. 3, 2, 1, go. Go off on the mission. Okay. Now, if we had another, do I have another volunteer? Come on. So another volunteer. We've now got a team of 3. Which side do you want to be on? To start. Okay. You're set. Now, during the gameplay, while the robots are doing the missions and all that, you're resetting, you're getting ready for the robot to come back into either home area to then be reset for the next mission. Can you move over to this side? That is not allowed, no. So you've got to stay over on this side for that whole match. Okay? That's one of the key things is once the team is divided on their 2 sides, they need to stay on that side for that match. On your next match or subsequent matches, remember you've got 3 matches that are officially scored during the tournament. You can arrange the team however you want. But once they start the match, they've got to stay on that side. Now, if the robot came back over to this side and you wanted to start the next mission over on this side, can you hand the robot off to your teammate on the other side? What do you think? Correct answer, no, you can't. So the only way a robot can go from one home area to the other home area is through its own movement. Okay, you can't pass equipment, you can't pass mission models that come back to home, you can't pass the robot off to a team member on the other side. The robot has to do that through the field. However, if the robot gets stranded outside of home, completely outside of home, then either side can take the robot as an interruption and take it back to home, get a reset, and start all over again. Okay? So thank you for volunteering. Folks can take a seat now. Okay, so one other key aspect about if you have a team of more than four or more folks, then however the team wants to divide, they do so at the start. You have to have 2 technicians on each side. Okay, so if you've got a team of 4, you've got to have 2 on one side and 2 on another. It can't be 3 and 1. Okay, that's one of the changes that popped up this year that I noticed in the rules is you've got to have it 2 and 2. If you got more than that, then you can have 2 on one side and everyone else on one side, on the other side. Or you can split them equally, or however you want to split them up. you've got a team of 10, 6 on one side, 4 on the other, that's completely fine. But you've got to have 2 technicians on the side.
At the same time?
They can be at the field, they can't be at the table.
Oh, okay,
So
yeah,
that,
okay.
there's another distinguishing factor. You can only have 2 technicians. And the definition of technician is the team members that are at the field. So you can have, you have to have 2 technicians, 1 or 2 technicians at the field. Everyone else is outside of the field. And generally there's a tape line that's laid down that the rest of the team is standing behind up to a maximum of 10. And then they can swap in and swap out. You know, but so if you have a team of 10, say you've got 4 on one side, 6 on another, of those 4 and of those 6, 2 are technicians, and then the other 4 or the other 2 are behind the line. During the match, they swap out to do various missions and do the robot manipulations and all that kind of stuff.
All right. They can swap out in the middle of the 2.5 minutes?
Yes. Yes. And so typically what I find is you'll have the first 2 technicians that are up on both sides, getting ready to, one, activate the robot, putting attachments on. You've got another set of attachments in home that these technicians are getting ready for, because the robot's going to go from this side, do a mission or 2, come to this side, and then while this side is adding the attachments, get the robot ready to go do some other missions, the technicians over here swap out. So these 2 technicians here swap out with 2 new technicians, and they're getting ready, you know, getting their attachments ready to go and waiting for that robot to come in, and then they're off and at it.
They can't bring it to do attachments with them.
All the attachments have to fit in home. So that's another key difference from years past. It started last year. Is everything, the equipment, attachments, jigs, the robot, all has to be kept within home if they want to use it. So in other words, you can't have the folks waiting in the wing holding on to parts and pieces that they're going to bring in. So all those attachments have to be in the home area. Is that clear? So you can swap out, you can use whatever attachments are in home and all that.
Oh, home and launch are the same area, so just all of their stuff needs to be in that side section as well as that half surface.
Correct. Yeah.
At the beginning of the game, that's to-
Here we go.
Yeah. So remember, home area is the swap on the side and the launch area. So a team, if you have equipment, it can be sitting in the launch area, and because that's part of home. And then you're manipulating the robot, getting it all started. When it comes time to launch the robot, and this is where reading the rule book over and over and over again makes sense, is anything that's going to move on that launch not be held by the team. Okay, so if the team member is holding a mission model against the robot while they're launching the robot, when the robot starts moving, they have to be hands-free. Okay, other than activating the robot. Does that answer your question?
Kind of, to clarify though, you said when you first start, everything has to fit in that half circle area, or everything has to fit in the sidebar and that half circle?
That's okay. So when you come up to the table, you're going to be inspected. So with inspection, everything has to fit within one or both launch areas. You get the bonus points if it all fits within, clearly within the one launch area, 12-inch ceiling. For starting the match, everything has to fit in home. Everything's got to be in a home area. And then the robot has to launch completely inside the launch area. Correct. Yep. Yeah, you can move, some attachments to one side, so and that the match hasn't started, so the kids can hand it back and forth and get everything set up. And then once it's all set up, then they'll get the countdown. And after that, the only way to move stuff back and forth is via the robot during the action.
You have, say, 5 team members, and you have 2 and 2 with 1 spare.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that spare have to choose one side that they go to so that you wouldn't be able to swap out and then have that person that swapped go to the other side?
That is correct.
Can you repeat?
Yeah. So the question is, the example is 5 team members. You've got 2 technicians on one side, 2 technicians on the other side, and the 1 team member waiting in the wing to rotate in. That 1 team member that's in the wing, we'll call it, has to be on one side or the other, and for that match, they can only stay on that side, either the blue side or the red side. Okay, they can't swap red and blue when they rotate in and out. Right. Yep. Yeah, you can only have 2 people at the field, 2 technicians, as they're called, at the field at the same time. Or actually 4, 2 in the home area at the same time.
This happened to us last year. So some weird incident, our robot during the match didn't work, but we have a spare robot. Is it possible to exchange the robot during the match?
Excellent question.
A spare one.
The question is, you show up to the field for your match, and you've got a robot during the match. The robot crashes, doesn't work, self-destructs, shuts down because the batteries die or whatever. Can you bring in another robot to replace it during that match? That is not allowed. You can only bring 1 robot to the field for your match. And that's the only robot that you can use for the match. You can have 3 robots back in your pit, or you can bring 3 robots to the tournament, and each robot is for a match. So you got robot 1 for match 1, robot 2 for match 2, robot 3 for match 3, but you can only bring 1 robot to the match. Okay, so that's yep, and I do see that. You know, so keep your batteries charged, or have that replacement battery pack that's easy to swap out batteries if you need to. Because I have seen robots in the 3rd match, they get in there, they start going, and then it dies in the first 15 seconds, and the robot is sitting there on the field, and the team is going, "Oh, what happened?" You know, so that's key. Yeah. Right. So, yeah, just to repeat for our Zoom listeners, what Janine was saying is remember, and again, read the rule books, because the only things you can bring to the field for your match, for your qualifying matches, are the robot and equipment and 1 piece of paper. If you want a piece of paper with kind of the various programs written on it, everything else has to stay away. Computer, any cables, you can't control the robot via Bluetooth communication. Anything like that is not allowed when you're on for the qualifying matches. It can only be the robot, any equipment that you bring, and that piece of paper with your codes on. Other questions? Visualize. Okay, let me go into the missions now. Kind of the exciting stuff. You can see in the lane. Go ahead and show. We've got a very colorful field. Yes, questions? Yes, but they have to stay in the audience.
The more the merrier.
Exactly. Remember, this is a key, coaches. this is a key to express to your other parents as well as siblings, friends, other folks that you bring into the tournaments. The robots perform better when the audience is cheering. There's just something about it. If the audiences get quiet, chances are the robots are going to be malfunctioning. But the higher the noise level, the better the robots do. It's amazing. It's just incredible, that energy. Okay, so the mission. There are a lot of cool missions on here. And so go ahead while I'm talking, pan around some of these missions, get close up. Because all of these are Lego items. They have to be built precisely. Okay, and I don't know, I think every year that I've refereed, I've had at least one team that has gone, activated a mission model and said, that's not working right. And we talked about it afterwards. Come to find out they had built the model incorrectly, and they have been practicing on a model that was built incorrectly and not operating like it should. And then they get to the tournament and they're going, the program doesn't, it's going like we programmed it to, but the model's not working. It's a model fault. No, it's not a model fault, except it's your model fault. I hate to do that. You know, this year there's some complex models, so make sure that you really have your young men and women when they're building the model pay attention to the build. I don't want to go through all the mission models, but I do want to highlight a couple of things that if they're not built correctly or if they're not set up correctly, it may be an issue. You know, one of the things that I see, if you look at these two models here, you've got this one here where the flower is all the way closed, and this one is set up correctly, but the flowers are kind of different. The model works the same way, it just looks different. Okay, so that's one that as the referee team, we're going to look and go, something's wrong with that model. You know, and look at the two, and then the other thing, we may miss something. We're human. So when the team comes up to the field and they're looking at the field, make sure they're looking at the models in the setup. Because if something's not set up correctly, we do our best. The field reset team does its best to make sure the field is perfect. But we're human. We've got nerves and we're excited about the game as well. We may miss something. So you may have the camera. Come on over here, Elaine. So this is our boat and our camera setup. It may be set up incorrectly. And so in this situation here, you know, maybe the robot is set up to pull this ring, but because the ring isn't correctly set up, then whatever item that or attachment the robot uses is going to miss it. Okay. Once we start the mission, the field stays as is. Okay, so if the team didn't notice that this is out of place, then they may miss some points. However, we want the team to challenge us and go, hey, referees, this doesn't look like it's set up correctly. Can we set that correctly? Or will you set that up correctly? That, which is the other job of the referees, is to interact with your team so that the team members feel like they can ask the referees and not get jumped on. Okay, so as a referee, I go, oh my gosh, I'm glad you caught that. Here, let's get that corrected. Okay, now we're set up correctly. Are you good with that? Yeah, we're good with that. Okay, now we can get started on the match. So I see a couple of hands.
If you set up a challenge and there you end up with spare parts, did you do it wrong?
Not necessarily. What I found is the little pieces, you're probably going to have spare little pieces. If you've got a beam or a long rod or some major swirly gear type thing, chances are it's been set up incorrectly. But if you've got tiny pieces, you know, the little knobs, the connectors, the half connectors, you're gonna have extra. Okay, was there another question that I saw? Okay, so the field setup is definitely key. And as you go, again, pay attention to the wording. For instance, come over here, lane to the Dragon. So our Dragon set is a really cool mission model. We've got this little red D here on the back. And so when you read the rules, it's going to say completely past the black beam when it's activated. So when this model is activated, it's got to be, and the lane can go directly over,
Like this.
just like that.
Okay.
So, and then let's look right there. Okay, right there, we've got, it looks like it might be, but it's not completely over. Most of the red is over and past the black beam, but it's not completely. So that will not score. Okay. Now it's completely over, and you see how that red pin has dropped in place? Without a doubt, that is completely over. Okay, so that's one of the things that the referees are going to be looking at is if I don't see that red is down, if it's sitting as it started, I'm going to be scratching my head going, is that completely over or completely past the black bar? I'm going to look at it and you know what? No. Yeah, now, without a doubt, that's it. Okay, so that's where understanding those partly and completely items come into play. The other thing to pay attention to is, and Elaine, can I get you to put up the other screen for the experts? One of the more confusing ones that when I first read through the rules is you've got these little people that are with these loops, and we've got a skateboarder here, and we've got, I think this is one of the stage directors, maybe. I don't have you memorized yet, but I'm working.
Visual effects director.
The visual effects director. Okay, so you've got all these little folks that are experts in their various fields. They start in certain areas on the field, and in order to score, they have to move to a different area. So, for instance, I've got what's his name? Sam, the stage director. Okay, he is where's Sam? Sam, the stage director, right here. Okay, with the blue dot. He starts over in mission 2, the stage area. Okay, and when you look at the field setup, there are little rectangles. So, Elaine, if you can zoom in. Okay. So that sits on, and the little black marks are key for setup. Okay, so now we've got Sam correctly positioned for starting. So the robot, in order for Sam to score, the robot has to move Sam from that position over to, what does it say? It says the scoring is in the movie set. So this movie set area, right over here. Okay. Now, if you look at the field closely, you'll notice there's a cream colored line all the way around. Okay. So that cream colored line, the outer edge of the line is the boundary of that area. So in this case, Sam is partly in the movie set area. Okay. Here, Sam, yeah, go ahead.
Do this so you can see. Okay.
So we'll show you now. Sam is completely in that area. And here, Sam is partly in the area. So that's where you go to the scoring sheet. And you say, okay, I can't remember, was it completely in or partly in as the scoring? So mission 15 is expert delivery. The scoring is number of experts at least partly in their target destination. So Sam scores. So the team scores by having Sam partly in the area. And Sam may not be standing up. Sam may be being supported by the hoop. The ring is part of the mission model. So as long as the ring is in that area, Sam scores. Okay? So pay attention to where those various experts are starting and where they're being delivered to. And here's where my comments about the teams asking the referees if the table is set correctly. These experts, we may get confused. So if Sam is not Sam starting in Sam's area, and the robot is programmed to pick up Sam and move Sam to the movie set, but Sam isn't where Sam should have been starting, Sam's not going to score.
It's not Sam.
Because it's not Sam. Now, chances are, if the head referee catches that, we're going to give the team the benefit of the doubt if that person is moved to the other. So that's the other area where the referee, the head referee, can give some benefit of the doubt. Yeah, it was obvious that had Sam been set up correctly, he would have moved there. Chances are we award the points, but it's something I want the team members to kind of get used to challenging the referees, challenge authority in a gracious professionalism manner. Okay, remember your core values. All right, so that's one of the big ones I want to talk about on that. Some of the other things, the challenge updates. There have been a couple of the challenge updates, and Elaine, if you can zoom in on this area is one of the latest ones for the camera on rolling down the track. You've got the stop lever here, the orange one. It looks like that has been built incorrectly in the past. So this is the correct build of the lever. And then also when you look at the bumper, there's one of the updates is make sure this one is built correctly. What I'm suspecting based on that is that maybe somebody noticed that there was built like that with the bumper being opposed. So which will change or could change the nature of this roll that it bounces back. So again, the challenge updates are key to understanding because in a tournament, that's how you're going to see that bumper played. All right. The other challenge update that sometimes the challenge updates just clarify an area. So for instance, for the movie set, for the camera here, the target area is this part of this film reel. And again, the cream colored area is the outer part of that target zone. So the target zones are key. And with this field setup, as colorful as it is, that can kind of be confusing. You know, so take the time early in the season to look at the various scoring areas and like the skateboard park area right up here. You know, again, it's pretty obvious once you start looking at the field what the scoring areas are. So those are a couple of things that I wanted to put out. Let me check my notes here and see if there's anything else.
Put in the chat if anybody on the chat can find this question.
That, I think that pretty much. Oh, the cooperation model. Now, when you look at the model over here with the various stages, you've got your blue nub, your yellow nub, and your pink nub. Okay, as the model is activated, those nubs spin around, and you can go on infinite. Well, not infinite time, you're only limited to 2.5 minutes. Now, you can activate that model as many times as you want. When whatever nub is facing the orange lever, okay, that's the stage that's active. if both teams during the qualifying match have the same nub set up, there are extra points awarded. Look at those points carefully. You can have up to 50 points total for the teams if they're set correctly. So teams communicate with the other teams to figure out what you're going to do. Unlike last year a team would activate both models that were the competition model. This year, you can only activate your model. Okay? So the team that's over on this field cannot reach across and activate the model for the competition points on this side. That's not allowed this year.
I just want to clarify, because it kind of sounds like, and you don't think that the other team is going to get it in time. Trying to get crazy, it's fitting 3 times. More points individually, that equals fewer points. That question makes sense.
I think that question makes sense that if you, so put another way, there are 3 point scores associated with the nub. And look it up in the rule book. So if you can maximize your slide points, but not get the competition side, so get points. Or you can look at the way the mission is scored, and if both are set correctly, you'll get more points. And so it's an interestingly worded mission. And I had to read it a couple of times. I like the way it plays out.
So hang on, Rich. Did you say teams can chat before the can they? Yes. Before the competition, like in the pits, and find out which color or knob each team will go to?
They can do that, yes. They can also, while they're setting up, you know, the way most competitions work, you've got some setup time. So as they're setting up the field, okay, they come in. Well, let me back up. They're over in the queuing area, queuing up. And so it's like team A, and I'm team Rich, okay? Team A, what are you doing the competition level? Are you doing the stages? What are you setting your stage on? Okay, we've got a program that you tell us what you're going to be on, and we've got 3 programs we can choose from. We're going to set whatever you set. Oh, cool. Yeah, we can maximize points. I'm going to go for pink. Okay, cool. We'll set up for pink. Okay, John, you got that one. Pink. We're going to go pink. Okay, that's in queuing. Okay, then you forgot to do that in queuing. You're getting set up. Hey, which one are you guys going for? We're going for blue. Okay, we're going to go for blue too. Okay, well, blue is the setup. So, guys, we're not going to run the blue mission. That way we can get the competition, because they're not going to do it. So don't do it. You may get some points. If you do it, you may get more points. You know, so there's some strategy there. You know, it's an advanced mission, but yes, you can talk to the other team even during the gameplay. You know, the match has started, and you see that they're going for it, and that triggers you. Oh, wait a minute, you're doing a model. Which one are you doing? Orange, or yellow? Okay. Yellow. We're gonna do yellow. Okay. And I'm the robot here. You can't reach across. You cannot reach across and do that. Okay. Only the robot can do that. So my hand was the robot. Okay. So now, during the match, we coordinated, and now we've gotten more points. Okay. So excellent question. Okay. What else? Talk about that. Talk about that. Okay, one final thing that remember to read the rule book about interrupting the robot and what happens if you interrupt the robot. Okay, interrupting the robot is touching the robot after it has launched. That's where these red discs come into play, precision tokens as they're called. Okay, if you interrupt the robot, if the team interrupts the robot, then they lose a precision token, depending on where it's interrupted. Basically, it's got to be completely in the launch area or home area, completely in, not to lose a token. Okay, so the robot is going out and starts misbehaving. The team reaches, grabs it, brings it back into home. They lose the precision token. Okay, say we're getting to the point where the robot is out doing whatever, it activates a model and it stops. And the team goes, well, we don't have any other missions to do, but we're happy with that run. You've still got a minute and 30 seconds left in the match. You want to turn the robot off and preserve those batteries or preserve that power? Yeah, you can do that. Okay, I'm turning the robot off. Okay, you're touching the robot. That's an interruption. But because you're not going to do any other missions, you communicated that to the referee. Hey, we're done with our missions. Can we turn the robot off? Yeah, go ahead and turn the robot off. You're not going to lose a precision token. Unless that's a strategic interrupt. Okay? In other words, the robot is out here, it's doing something, it's going crazy, it's getting ready to break the model. But just before it breaks the model, the team reaches in, turns it off. We don't want to do any other mission. Sorry, that's a strategic interrupt. Appreciate it, but we're going to take one of those tokens. Okay. So that's one of the nuances of interruption, and strategic interruption is not allowed. All right. So any other questions? Like I said, I don't want to go into all the mission models. You've got the rule book, you can read it. You can make more interruptions than you have tokens. So, and I have seen you're going to lose points for every interruption up to a certain number of points. And that it's designed that way. There are teams, I have seen teams interrupt like every 10 seconds. Well, maybe not that bad. But there are teams that, the robot is just misbehaving big time. And the team can't figure out why the robot is misbehaving. And they're encouraging the robot to behave. And they're trying to get the robot to behave. And the robot just doesn't want to behave. And so they send it out. That's not working. Pull it back. Restart. Next thing you know, all the tokens are gone. They're still interrupting. After that, you don't lose any other points. You can interrupt it as many times as you want. Question. Sure. If you lose all the tokens, then you just don't get those points. Hopefully, you make points up throughout the game time. But any other interruptions, you don't lose any more points. Nope. You only start out with 6 tokens. It's exponential scale, so it's in the rule books. So it's like 60 points you start off with, and then 50, and then 30, and then something like that. Mine.
That the kids think about grabbing the robot on interruption, because if it's wanting to be on the east side and the west side gets it, guess what? You're going on the west side.
That's a very good point. Strategically finding out when you have to interrupt the robot, which side is it going to be on? And that's where coaches take the time during the season, especially as you get closer to the qualifier, run some practice matches as part of your session so that you can figure out, okay, the coordination and the choreography. We're running from the red launch area, we're running from the blue launch area. However you swapping those, when you get an interruption, which side is going to take it for the next mission. And you can communicate across to the other side. You just can't hand stuff over or switch sides. So I can say, we need to interrupt. You want to run the next mission? I want to run the next mission. Okay, you run the next mission. Okay, so make sure that happens. Other questions?
Happens to scoring elements that your robot's in possession of?
Excellent question. Read the rule book. Yeah, exactly. No, and there's a lot of stuff that I didn't go over, but excellent question. And then this one is great because it is cause for confusion. It all depends on where that mission model is at the start of the launch. Okay. The question was, what happens to a mission model if the robot is interrupted? Okay. So for instance, we've got the pedestal and you've got a whole bag of goodies. You brought in a model that sits on top, and for lack of better model for demonstration, this orange guy, this is the mission model. Pretend this orange guy is not an orange guy, but some other Lego trophy that you have made, and you bring it in, put it on the pedestal. The robot is set up, it's completely in the launch area, and it starts, and the robot goes haywire, and you want to interrupt it and bring it back. Okay. The mission model, if it's in contact with the robot, can come back. Okay. If the robot takes it out and then runs astray and now is no longer in control of that model and they interrupt it, only the robot can do that. The mission model stays where it was lost. Okay. If, on the other hand, the robot goes out and picks up, say, an expert and is bringing it back and gets derailed or doesn't quite make it back completely into base and is interrupted, then that mission model that it collected out on the field and is bringing back into play, that goes out of play. That goes to the referee, and the referee takes it out, so it is no longer a scoring element. Okay? Which is another caution and another thing to read about with interruptions. When the robot is bringing something back into base or into home, okay, the robot and anything it is carrying need to be completely in home before it's touched. And that's also equipment. So the robot comes back in and somehow either is the robot completely comes into home and he just gets excited and grabs it, and the model is partly in home. It stays like that. If the team wants to move it and bring it into home so they can use it, they can do that, but the robot has to do that. So if you have a robot programmed to do a sweep, then that might be beneficial. If, on the other hand, the technician reaches in and grabs that model, the referee is going to say, I need to have that model, please. And then that model goes out of play. So if human interacts with anything that's partly in home, then you're either going to get it, if it's equipment that you brought, you're going to get an interruption token taken away. If it's a mission model, the mission model gets taken. Okay. Again, read the rule book for the finer details of all that. Any other questions? Okay, last thing I want to do is provide a tip. And this is where it becomes interactive. So after I demonstrate, if you want to come up and play on this table and work on setting it up, please feel free. But what we've got is none of the dual lock is set up here. You've got the sheet of dual lock, and I'm going to kind of do a demonstration on placement. There are all these little squares with an X in them, and Dwayne is showing right there. Okay, we're going to take one of those dual locks and we're going to put it exactly on the square. And here, precision becomes key. Now, the next thing we're going to do, once you get all of those dual locks down so that they're stuck onto the X, we're going to attach another dual lock onto the top of that existing dual lock, being very precise and making sure that we've got it. Now you notice what I did is I took a piece of the wax so that I could put it on and not get the oils from my fingers on that dual lock. So that helps it stick to the model a lot better. And then we've got, which model is that? That's the this guy here. Okay, now there are, if you look at the model orientation, refer to the field setup aspect. And when you put the model over, you're going to align it with those thin lines precisely. Once you get it on there, you don't want to press too hard until you got it all aligned. And then you want to press it in to that dual lock and make sure it's pressed on nice and tight. Okay, that way when it comes time to remove, you've now got the dual lock precisely on the model that lines up precisely with the dual lock that it's going to stick to. Okay, so there have been a number of times where I've seen, the models that either they attach with their finger, the dual lock, or they'll try and dual lock to the model and it doesn't quite line up with what's on the field, and so the model doesn't stick that well. Okay, or you've got the oil that's been on the sticky side that doesn't stick to the model that well. So when you take the model off, guess what? The dual lock stays dual locked to the dual lock and not to the model. Okay, so that's just a tip that I've seen over the years play out. So at this point, that kind of concludes my remarks and my kind of commentary and all that. Like I said, come up, play with the models, check them out, ask me questions. If you want to put dual lock down on this field in the appropriate places, on the appropriate models, feel free to play around with that. And at this point, I'm here for you for whatever else you need. So with that, are there any questions before I go back to board? Questions, comments, concerns? All right. Again, there's a no idea. It depends. My favorite answer, my favorite underdog. I'd say 4 hours to 24 hours. Just depending on the team. I probably spend a good. I haven't built this year's models yet, but I will probably spend. I would estimate on this one probably 6 to 8 hours in building. Again, I highly recommend you don't rush, and the team doesn't rush. Build them precisely as the instructions are written. Watch the orientation of the pieces. Watch the orientation of the levers. All that becomes very important. I'd say when I was kind of playing around with models and rebuilding some of them, this guy right here is probably one of the more complex ones to build. The flower model. I didn't have to do anything with the towers, so I don't know. Those look pretty complex to build. The stage is definitely a complex one to build. So I think this year the build is a lot more complex than previous years. So just be cognizant of the build. Any other questions? So again, for you rookies in the room, don't be afraid. Talk to each other, talk to the coaches, talk to the experienced ones, talk to Elaine, talk to myself, talk to Nancy. Thank you for what you're doing, especially for the rookies. It can be, like I said at the beginning, it can be frustrating, but it's also incredibly rewarding. For you veteran coaches, thank you so much for all that you've given over the years. See a lot of faces here that I recognize, and I love seeing you come back. I see some team members that I remember from last year, so it's great to see them here as well. And have a great season, have a great time, and we'll see you at a tournament.